All right, we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie
Movie
Podcast.
podcast.
That's episode 68. I knew that off the top of my head, didn't have to look for it at all. This week is my pick, and I picked The Witch from 2015. And that's how I will be saying it the whole movie is The Witch. Not the Vavitch or whatever it is on the poster. I found out why it's written like that, by the way, Maverick. I'm going to tell you in a little bit. But The Witch from 2015 that I picked. I had seen it before. And I said I liked it. But having watched it the second time, here's the thing, Maverick. Is some people, some movies are better when you're inebriated. When you watch
Oh
them.
yeah.
And when I watched this movie for the first time, I was very inebriated. This time, stone cold sober. I didn't like it as much as I did the first time.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's terrible. I don't even really think it's bad. But I'm going to go with an even 5 down the middle.
Mm.
But yeah, really didn't like it as much as I liked it the first time when I watched it. So, which is the opposite of, because like I said, I'm going to make Maverick try to guess what the other movie this guy made was in a minute. Which is the opposite of the other movie where the same thing, I watched it inebriated, but then watched it again and it was still as good as it was the first time. So, anyway, 5 for The Witch. Maverick, your first time
Uh,
watching this, I
uh,
assume, unless it turned out you'd
yeah.
seen it.
I've never seen it. Um, I didn't really like it.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So it's like a 3.
Yeah, yeah. 3 for the. Well, all right. So, can you guess what's the other movie this guy made? Unless you cheated and looked it up.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, the other movie this guy made was The Lighthouse. So,
Really?
yeah, he made The Lighthouse. This is his first movie. He made The Lighthouse 4 years later or whatever, but this was his first movie. So, Lighthouse, like I said, I had the opposite reaction of this one, where I still like that one when I watched it. This one, I was like, all right, like we're gonna get into it, but like nothing really happens in this movie.
It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot of suspense. The fucking music's loud as
it
hell.
does get loud, yeah. But hey, spoiler warning for The Witch from 2015. We're gonna ruin everything about it, so you've been warned. The reason it's written the Vavitch Maverick is because back in the 16th century, when this movie is based, the movie takes place in 1630. The letter W just wasn't really a common letter back then. So whenever they would write W, they would just put two F's or V's next to each other. So that's why it's called the Vavitch on the poster. Because this dude, we went over a little bit with the Lighthouse, how he's a real stickler for like super realistic timepieces and stuff. Like everything they wore in the Lighthouse would be what you would see like a 1901 lighthouse guardsman. What were they called? Wikis, right? That was it. But it would be what
Yeah, I
they
think
were.
so.
Yeah, it would be what they were wearing and stuff. This movie, the amount of research that this dude does to where all the clothes they wear are like exactly what they would wear back in the day. Everything they built, like their houses and farm equipment, is exactly the same as it would be. The way they talk, the talking in this movie is a big thing. I mean, the
I didn't
whole,
really like it.
it's super time periody. Like it's hard to understand at points. You really got to try to listen in. But but yeah, that's like exactly how it would be back in the day. I mean, if you the end of this movie even pops up like all the dialogue written in this movie is from like books from that era of like history or something like that. So it's a lot of
Hmm.
thy like that's not what they said. But it's just it's a lot of jargon you got to try to cipher through to get to the meat of everything. But basically, the Saints just scored a touchdown. That's not good.
How dare you?
It's not good, dude. I hate it. The beginning of this movie starts off, and they're at like a hearing or a court of some sort. It's like a neighborhood gathering or something. I don't know. It was like a weird thing. But what were they even? Were they mad at him because he was not talking about God enough or something like that?
I missed this. I don't.
The very beginning of the movie.
I missed it. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I hope we watched the same movie. How did the movie start for you?
Credits, intros. Okay, I see it. Yeah. Okay. No, I remember now.
All right. Jesus Christ. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Maverick literally just got done watching this movie.
This movie seemed fucking long.
It really did seem like it was longer than it actually is.
But yeah, he's like, I don't know if he's on trial or what. Nothing happens. Like,
well, all I know, because they're like, stop talking shit. And he says some gangster shit where he's like, if I see it fit, I will do it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I have no clue. I totally forgot that first part.
Yeah, well, that's the whole base, because he's like, nah, I'm gonna keep talking crap. And so they like banish him and his family from the Commonwealth or whatever, and they get sent on their own. It was something to do with God and religion when that whole thing was going on. I can't really remember.
Yeah, they hiked to the fucking woods on the wagon.
Yeah, and they like find this clearing, and the wife and the husband like share a look, like, this is where we're gonna set up, you know. Yeah, the wife in this movie played by, like I said, Lysa Arryn from Game of Thrones, who was the one with the moon door, who had
I fucking
crazy
hate that
kid.
lady. She's
Yeah.
the character she plays, which she plays them very well. I fucking hate.
She makes you hate it, yeah. Like,
it's insane.
And then the guy and the husband in the movie was also in Game of Thrones, Maverick. He played a much smaller role, but he was the guy who, if you remember when Theon had left into Winterfell, and then like all the Boltons were outside, and he made that big speech where he was like, well, let's go get him. Everyone went, yeah. And then the guy just knocked him out, and he was like, all right, let's go home, you know? He was the guy who knocked out Theon. And I was like, all right, let's get out of here. But so shout out to him. But yeah, so they get banished. They find their little clearing, and they're like, all right, this is going to be, our home. And then you get a scene of the daughter of the family, the oldest daughter, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who is soon to be Peach and Mario. I didn't realize it when I picked it, but she was...
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah. Who this was her first feature film. But she's praying, and basically she's like, hey, God, I've been touching myself. Sorry about that. Please, don't...
I did not catch that part either.
Yeah. You gotta really listen, because the way she said it was like, I've played with thyself or something like that, and like but when you pick it up, that's what she's like. Hey, I've been diddling myself. Don't get mad at me, And she prays to God, and then she's got her. At the time, you don't know it's a baby brother. It's just a baby. And she's like playing peekaboo with this little bitch. So she's like, boo, and peekaboo, and all this. And then she does it one more time, and then the baby's just gone. It was like, oh shit.
She looks up, and there's like a little, like, a bush moves out in the distance. So like something.
Yeah, over to the wood, as they call it in the movie.
Fucking insane.
Yeah. And the weird thing is because I thought that... So she goes into the woods to look for the baby, and then it cuts over to the baby all naked out on like a piece of wood, and then there's this old haggard-looking witch, and she's like rubbing blood on herself, and she's like, or whatever, making all these weird noises.
Yeah.
But the way that it was filmed, it made me think that the girl had found the baby. And so then I was just confused as to where this witch was. And I was like, oh, I guess she didn't find the baby. This is all happening
Yeah,
away
they
from
never
her.
found the baby.
No, I assume the baby's dead as hell.
I don't.
Apparently, because I got into a bunch of witch stuff, apparently baby fat is supposed to be put in a chemical that helps witches to fly, which then that would lead into the net because you see like the witch like start to levitate kind of in the moon, like she's silhouetted by the moon and shit. And then that's how the movie begins. And then it cuts to like the witch, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they explained the baby had. It wasn't like it was an unbaptized baby, so something with an unbaptized baby. It's like a big deal.
Yeah. And then like so some time passes. I'm not sure how much. It's been I would say at least a week probably. Cuz they talk about the mom hasn't slept a night since the kid went missing or whatever. But in the morning you get a shot where the brother is like eyeballing his sister's titties.
Okay.
And that's not he'll do it like more throughout the whole movie. But it's just playing on more of that like lust and sin part of this movie. Yeah, and they're going throughout their chores in the morning. The dad's talking about they're not looking for the baby no more. It's been a week or whatever. If it's out there, it's the wolf's got it at this point. Yeah, wolves. Yeah. The dad in this voice, man, he has a real man's man voice. He's just like
he is a real man's man
or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a real man until about halfway through the movie where he starts crying like a little bit. But we'll get into that later. And so then like you get a scene where the brother is like asking his dad if his baby brother is in hell now because God has forsaken or like it's a whole where the kid's like God doesn't answer us anymore and he wasn't baptized, is he in hell and stuff, and the dad's like, why are you saying this, Josh? I can't do. But they got some weird names too in this movie because like I don't remember the boy's name, but the girl's name is like Thomason or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the boy's like freaking out, and he's like, our baby brother's in hell and shit. And then this is randomly when the dad decides to bring up that he had sold, or no, he pulls out like a treat or something, like a little raisin or something. It probably wasn't a raisin, but he like pulls out to give it to the kid, and the kid's like, how'd you get this? And he's like, I sold your mother's silver cup or whatever. And so that's just a little thing in there, is that he had sold the wife's silver cup for something. I don't remember.
It was like her dad's cup, I think.
Yeah, you didn't know it then, yeah, but then later you find out it's like the dad's or her dad's cup.
Yeah, they're fucking poor farmers, by the way. They got kicked out and they don't have any fucking money and
nah, they're little scrubs, dude.
They're trying. To be fair, they're just starting out, but they got like 2 goats and
2 goats, and then they got one big old goat named Black Phillip that we'll get into.
Was that the goat's name?
Yeah,
I thought
Black Phillip
was the like a deity or something.
No, but that was his name, was Black Phillip. But yeah, and so the dad and the kid are walking, and then they see a rabbit that like gives you a good long stare into the camera, just like eyeballing you.
Rabbit was weird.
Yeah, I assumed it. I kind of thought it was a witch in a rabbit's form.
That's what I thought too.
But I'm not 100% sure on that. But that's what I took for it, especially because later on in the movie when the brother gets like lured into the woods by the rabbit that like causes the dog to go chasing after it and stuff.
R.I.P. That dog, man.
Well, do you ever see? I know you hear like a wow or something like that, but he's probably dead. But
no, you get a
Do you?
Yeah, you get a scene of the boy walking through the woods calling for the dog. Then he trips, And when he lands, he looks up. The fucking dog is on its side with its whole stomach ripped open,
Oh,
turned inside out.
it'll, it'll be all right.
Yeah, rip.
Yeah, and you see this rabbit, and the dad goes to like shoot it, and I don't even know like, cause it's like a fuse on this gun that's like winding
Yeah, I
down.
don't know how that one works.
Um, and then it like goes off, and he misses the rabbit, I guess. But then like the explosion also like blasts up into his face, and he's like, oh, and he falls over.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of ridiculous.
It was real weird. I don't really know what that whole point.
Imagine what that
Washington scored a touchdown. Go ahead.
Imagine what that rabbit would look like if he actually shot it with that fucking cannon.
Yeah, like there wouldn't be anything left to eat.
It'd just fucking explode.
I don't know. Oh man, that touchdown really didn't help us out at all. But but yeah, so he misses the rabbit. A rabbit goes running off. That scene just kind of ends. That was just, I guess, to kind of introduce the rabbit and to plant that little seed that the dad had sold that silver cup. When he comes back home, you get introduced to the twins of the family, a boy and a girl, who I don't know what they're wearing in this movie, but it makes them look like they're like 300 pounds or something. Like, their outfits are so heavy, the twins in this. But they're chasing around Black Phillip the goat, and they're like having a little chant. They're like, Black Phillip, or something like that. And the goat's just hopping around and shit. The dad comes out and he's like, what's going on? And he like fucking grabs it by the horns and pulls it into the barn area or whatever. And the dad just starts like yelling at everybody. He's like, shit, because the twins are just still being annoying. They're annoying as hell throughout this whole movie, the twins.
Very annoying.
He makes the oldest daughter like take them inside. Or no, she takes them inside, but then she has to come back out and like take off her dad's shirt and wash it and stuff.
Yeah, cause when he put the goat up in the pen, he tripped on something and fell into fucking.
Yeah, he like fell over and all the twins laughed at him and shit. And he was like, "Shut up!" Kids. Yeah, but yeah, and so he's all upset and he's like, "Go wash my shirt." Or he doesn't really say. The mom is like, "Go wash your father's shirt." So the girl goes to wash her dad's shirt in the river or the stream, and the brother goes along to like wash dishes or something. And then once again, as this is happening, the brother like is perving out on his sister, and she like kind of catches him. So now he's all embarrassed, and he doesn't want to look over to her, and she's like, "What is it?" You know. And then like he like goes over to her, and she like cradles him, and it's like petting his hair or something because he's like upset. And he starts tickling her, and I was like, I couldn't really remember if anything happened between the sister or the brother in this movie. I was like, are they about to like start doing some weird, hey, 2 Game of Thrones characters in this. You never know, never know what's gonna happen. But during all their tickling fight, they hear like a stop right there, or whatever, and it's the twin girl who's just hiding in a bush, and she starts talking about she's the witch of the wood and all this stuff. And she keeps this act up until the older sister basically gets annoyed, and she's like, "No, I'm the witch of the wood." And she like gets real close to her, and she's like, I'll get rid of you if you keep bothering me and all this shit. Which is all fine. Nice older sister to little sister, little scare tactics. Think she might go a tad too far when she jumps on her and starts like rubbering the dirt, and she's like, you won't tell anybody about this or whatever. And I was like, all right, you overdid it a little bit, but girl gets up, she's all scared, runs off. That night at dinner, this is when you get the mom mentioning that. And also keep in mind, so the mom already kind of has bad feelings towards the daughter because she was the one with the baby when it suddenly just went missing, So she already isn't at the top of her list. So now the mom starts telling her that she can't find her silver cup. And, she remembers you were the last one I saw with it and all this stuff. And meanwhile, the dad's sitting there like, ooh. and the dad doesn't say nothing. He'll be like, she didn't take it or whatever.
He was saying she didn't take.
Yeah, but he wasn't,
He
admitting
wasn't
to it.
helping either.
And then the little bro was like looking over like, oh, this is awkward, But yeah, they have this little argument, and the dad's like, I said she didn't take it. And then in the middle of all this, next thing you know, just like they hear Black Phillip out in the air, or they hear all the goats outside, like the solid goat sound by Thomas. And so the oldest daughter goes up to like check on it. And then as she goes into the barn, the rabbit from earlier is in there again, just sort of like staring at her. And that's where that scene ends. Just the rabbit staring at this lady.
I think that's where we get our first black screen. And it
just cuts to a black screen, yeah.
It cuts to a black screen for like 30, 45 seconds. Like, it's long. I was like, the fuck, is the movie over? Like,
you're like, Thomas picked the short one. I don't even know what it means.
But it happened like 2 or 3 times during the movie where it just cut to a black screen and like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're like sitting there and I'm looking at myself in the monitor and I'm like, look at this piece of shit. Just sitting here watching a movie.
Yeah, and so then that night, the dad is telling the mom, he's like, you're going to get some sleep tonight. It's been, a week or whatever since you've last slept. And so she lays down with him, but then immediately starts talking about how it's the daughter's fault that the baby's gone. She starts talking about they're all going to starve to death and stuff. And it like pans into the next room. Because keep in mind, this is a little cottage that's hand built. So, like, all the kids are just wide awake, just having to listen to, her
Well, they're
mom.
fucking... So it's like a log cabin. The fucking kids sleep up. Like, they climb up a ladder and there's like a loft up there that they all sleep in.
Yeah.
So it's like right below them is the parents' bed. And in that scene, the parents, I think it was the mom, was like, she calls up to him, hey, are y'all sleeping? Are y'all asleep yet? And no answer. So she's like, okay, they're asleep. And they start having, things parents discuss, which was, I forgot. But, she was talking about the oldest daughter had like come of age or some shit. Signs of becoming a woman or whatever the fuck she was saying.
Once again, dialogue in this movie very hard to understand. You gotta try to.
Yeah. Well, it's in like the old English or whatever.
Yeah. It's like when you're like in high school English class and they made you read like fucking Beowulf, but it's all in like the old English and it's hard to understand. But anyway, so she has her little breakdown during the night. The next morning, the little brother and the daughter go like walking through the woods with her. I think he has his rifle, if I remember right, too. And she's like on a horse. The horse came out of nowhere because you hadn't seen this horse at any time before. I don't remember. But they're just like cruising through the woods, and then next thing you know, that rabbit pops up again. And this is when the dog they have goes chasing after it. Little brother goes running after the dog, trying to get the dog back. This freaks the horse out, so the horse like bucks and it kicks off the girl, and once again it cuts to a black screen. And and then when it comes back up, you get, like we said, the boy walking around. Apparently he sees the dead dog. I forgot about that part, I guess, that he trips over. And then he gets next to like this little hill looking thing. It looks like it has like an entrance, and this sexy witch comes sauntering out of the hill, And she's like, ooh, you know. And so the boy, who has been, you've seen through this movie, has been perving on his sister and is going through, you know, these sexual awakenings. He gets lured in, and he like, well, I'm talking shit. What is that? And and she like gives him a smoochie, but then like her hand turns into this old gnarled granny looking hand, grabs the back of his head or whatever, and feels bad for that kid. That was
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah.
And then it cuts again, I think.
Cuts again. And then the next day, now, you know, the daughter, she's been with two people who have gone missing. So the mom, once again, is all upset. And finally, this is when the dad is like, I sold your cup. Because she brings up the cup again. And so the dad finally admits that he is the one that sold the cup. The dad goes to walk off to, like, look for the son. And the mom just keeps following him. And she's like, go get help, you know, go back to the or, you know, and all this stuff. And she just keeps yelling at him. So finally he gives her like a and just slaps her onto the ground. Yeah.
Wait. I think the mom hit the dad.
Did she?
Yeah, she smacked the fuck out of him.
Domestic abuse only happens one way, Maverick. I don't know what this jargon about the woman hitting the man is.
Yeah, she smacked the fuck out of him. He was bleeding.
Either way. But anyway, and then I guess the dude, I guess he found the kid, because then like the next thing I remember is the kid being back. And he's all sick on the floor. They like cut above his eyebrow to like drain.
Yeah,
some
I don't
blood.
know what that. Yeah, I don't know what that cut was supposed to do.
Oh, that's some old fucking medicine, dude. Just like I was waiting for them to bust out the slugs and shit. Start having them sucking. Wait, slugs don't. But you know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Leeches.
Leeches. There you go. Leeches are just the slugs of the ponds or something. I don't know. You know. But so the kid's all sick and shit. I wonder, was it that scene? No, it's later on. But the kid's all sick. The next day, they're out in the barn, and like the twins are giving her shit because they're like, "You're a witch." Because remember, she went through this whole scary spiel earlier about how she's a witch and shit. And she's like, you know, I'm not a witch or whatever. And then as she's milking the goat, she looks down and just blood is coming out. And like, she's like, and she just kicks it over. And then it like pans over.
Not the goat.
Not the goat. That would have been pretty funny
bowl.
though. Yeah. Kicks over the bucket. And then it like pans over and you get a shot of Black Phillip just being like, what? Like, just
yeah, he was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This lady's tripping.
Yeah.
Fucking goat.
And then that might have been the same scene because you don't really think anything of it. You just think it's kids being kids. But there's a scene where the kids on either side of the Black Phillip are like, bye, and like talking to him and shit. And you just think it's like kids being kids. But the next day, or it's probably the same day, but just somewhere else, the mom is telling the dad how she wants to go back home to her home in England, right? Or California. Was it England or California? I think it was England.
Yeah, England.
Yeah. I don't think California was a thing back then.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Yeah, but she wants to go back to her home in England where her parents and stuff are. She's like, my heart has turned to stone and, you know, all this shit.
Yeah, because she lost the kid.
Yeah.
Or the kid got lost.
Yeah. And then as this whole thing is going on, the brother on the ground who's looking all types of sick just starts freaking out and yelling. And I realize that what he says is my bowels, my stomach is what he says. But he's talking with the accent. So the first time it was like, my balls. I was like, oh, man, this kid is upset. And he's all just twisting around. He's like, And then he pukes up a bloody apple, which I mean, probably wasn't a bloody apple, but it was just an apple that came up bloody because, but he pukes up an apple. Partly because earlier when they went to the wood, he had made up some excuse that he was going to try to find an apple tree because he knew his mom liked apples and he thought he had saw one. And so, but when this apple gets puked up, and that spurs the twins to then tell their mom that the big sister is a witch, because now they're like, shit's getting real, and the dad is like, I will hear none of it. On your knees. And he's like, he makes her start like swearing that she loves God and, all this stuff. And the kid's like, I'm not a witch, And so then he's like, all right, we need to pray. And so they all start praying, but then like the twins stop for a second and he like gives them a death glare. But then the brother on the floor starts praying. He like starts yelling out prayers and shit. So they all like start joining them and they're praying. And then the kid just goes solo and he's like smiling up to the sky and he's like, oh Jesus, my Lord, my love, give me your kisses with thy mouth and stuff. And I was like, this is what Christians are up to. And and he's just like going off, and then he's like, and that's it, and then he's dead, and the little brother is dead. So the dad takes his daughter outside, and then once they're outside is when the dad tells her that he does believe that she is actually a witch, and he's like, listen, it's not too late, you can come, just tell me you love God and we're all good. And she's like, I'm not a witch. But then she starts accusing the twins of being witches or whatever. And
they made a deal with the goat.
They made a deal with Black Phillip, who is actually Satan, is what she says. And that's why they talk to him and all this shit. And once again, the pops at this point is like, and he just goes running into the house and he's like, get up, you little devils. And he's like, are you witchcraft? Like, this witch stuff is taken very seriously in this household. And they don't answer. Like, he keeps on being like, wake up, and he's like yelling at him full. But then eventually he just like grabs them by the neck and pulls them up.
Yeah, they're pretending because the oldest brother just died, and then so the two twins are just laying there. Like when he died, they just laid there. They don't say anything, or like their eyes are closed. They're pretending like they're dead. So the dad runs in, yelling at them, telling them they're witches and fucking accusing them of shit. They're still just laying there. So he ends up just fucking grabbing one. He grabs them, just fucking picks them up with like one arm.
And the little kid's like, ah!
Yeah, he fucking starts shaking them. Kid's freaking out.
Yeah. And so the dad finally decides to just lock the twins and the daughter into the barn with Black Phillip and stuff. And he like hammers them in with boards and stuff. And he goes walking off. And this is when you get the scene that I talked about earlier where he just has like this breakdown in the woods where he starts praying to God and he's like, I've been infected with the filth of pride and, it's too late spare his kids and stuff. They have nothing to do with it. And he's like, redeem my children. And he just like, I laugh, but a very serious scene. A man's going through some hard times. During all this, the mom has a dream where she sees the boy sitting there with the baby from earlier. And she's like, oh, I need to go get your father. And the kid's like, there's no time, And then as this dream's happening, it cuts back to the barn. And the kids hear some like weird noise going on. And the twins start walking over. And in the dark, you can kind of make out it looks like a grisly looking witch like eating something, which we come to learn later I guess was the lambs or the sheep or whatever they were. But they see like something back there like eating, and then as it starts to like turn from the dark, you just hear like a ha, and you're like, oh shit. And then it cuts to a shot of the mom sitting in a rocking chair with a raven on her, and it's like pecking her in the chest or something.
Weird, yeah.
That was a cool shot. Don't know what was going on, but but yeah. So then the dad comes back the next morning and sees that all the sheep are dead or whatever. They're laying there all torn apart. The barn is like all destroyed, and the daughter is the only one laying there. I don't think you ever see the twins again, and they're not, like, they're gone. They're gone. And so he's like, "What the fuck?" Next thing you know, Black Phillip out of nowhere comes and just gores him in the side, and it was like, "Oh!" And he turns around, and he's like, "You vile creature!" And Black Phillip then charges him again, and knocks him into his stacks of wood. Throughout this whole movie, he's just been chopping wood, and then it would end up coming back to smother him, basically, or, you know, fall on top of him and crush him. Even though, like, he had been stabbed twice with these horns. Even though I'm not really sure how Black Phillip stabbed, because the horns are, like, curved.
Yeah, they're curved back.
But they made it seem like he just came in and stabbed him, and I was so... But whatever, you know. So dad's dead. The mom comes out, sees all this, and so now she's like, "You bitch!" She, like, grabs her daughter and starts attacking her daughter. Her daughter grabs, like, a gardening tool or something, and at first
knife.
Was it just a knife? Okay.
Yeah.
At first I thought she stabbed her in the chest, but I guess what she did is she just slashed her, because the mom starts, like, bleeding from the head, and you get, like, it, like, squirts onto the daughter below.
Yeah.
And so the mom starts choking her some more, and so the daughter just starts, like, going to town, just whacking her with this knife or whatever it was, and kills the mom. So now the daughter is the only one left alive out of this whole family. Once again, well, she goes in and just sits down at the dinner table, and then it cuts to black again. And that one, more than any of them, makes it seem, is that the end of the movie? Like, that's just how it ends, with her sitting down. But it doesn't. It comes back up. She goes back into the barn, and you just get a shot where it's just her face, and you don't see anything else. It's just, like, her face and, like, upper shoulders. And she starts telling Black Phillip, she's like, "I'm summoning you to talk with me and shit." And she's like, "Come on, say something, you know?" And then she, like, starts to turn away, and then in, like, the smoothest ASMR voice you've ever heard, the guy's like, "Wouldst thou like some butter?" Or whatever. And he's like, just starts talking to her. Yeah, and he's asking her, you know, "Wouldst thou like to taste butter? Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" Yeah, would she want to see the world? You know, all this stuff. And she's like, "Yeah." And so he's like, "Take off your shift." So he makes her, like, get naked. And then he's like, "Do you see the book set before you?" And she does. And then as it shows the book, you get a shot now of, like, boots with spurs walking by it. Where now I assume Black Phillip has turned into Lucifer, whoever he is. Because then he also goes behind her, and she's like, "I can't sign my name." And so he's like, "I'll guide thy hand." And he, like, puts his hand on her shoulder. So then it cuts to her walking into the woods. She's all naked and stuff. You hear, like, like, just witches, like, singing and everything. She comes across a big old witch bonfire where they're all naked and they're all doing witch stuff in front of the fire. And she's just sort of, like, watching, and then these things just start, like, floating into the air, and she's like, "Oh," and she starts smiling and laughing, and then as you see that she is now rising off the ground too, and she's, like, going above the trees and stuff. You get a shot of her just going above the trees, and then that's how the movie ends, with her floating with her new witch family. And then, like I said, the movie tells you that all the dialogue and stuff is based off of history books from that time. So there you go. That was the way. What does it all mean? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, this movie had a budget of $4 million. Made a box office of $40.4 million. So, There's a part, by the way, Maverick, because I saw it and I didn't know what it meant, but apparently, you remember that scene where the dad had like that corn cob and it had like shit on it and he just sort of threw it away, and that it was just a random scene in there. I think it was somewhere near the beginning too. I think it might have been before they went hunting for the first time, where he missed the rabbit. Anyway, that scene was in there. But apparently, that scene, that corn has signs of ergot, or however you pronounce it, ergo or something, which is a hallucinogenic fungus that many attribute to real-life stories of possession and witchcraft. So there's a theory that this whole thing is just they ate bad corn, and now they're all just tripping balls. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Which I always like theories like that where it's just like, yeah, this shit's not real. But also, the Satanic Temple has endorsed this movie and hosted several screenings of the film. Their spokesperson, Jax Blackmore, addressed the film as an impressive presentation of satanic insight that will inform contemporary discussion of religious experience. So there you go. If you're looking to sign up to the Satanic Temple, I hope you like this movie, because they're gonna keep showing it to you. Yeah. Also, just going through the facts I have written down now. Like I mentioned, when Black Phillip is like, "Wouldst thou like to taste butter or whatever?" I'm just thinking that's because like they're like starving and shit, so he's asking her would she want food. Apparently, though, Maverick, in the 15th and 16th century, the Catholic Church declared eating butter was a bigger sin than lying, blasphemy, and impurity. So, Catholic Church didn't like butter. Touch all the little boys you want, though.
Wow.
So I couldn't help myself. Also, last thing real fast. The guy who plays the dad, who I mentioned was in Game of Thrones and stuff, he was in the movie that you had watched a couple weeks ago, Maverick, called The Green Knight, which I still have not watched. He played the Green Knight. So, like I said, I don't know who the Green Knight is in the movie because I haven't watched it yet, but that's him. Shout out. Let's do best of, worst of, Maverick, for this one.
This movie was like, you watch it and you really don't take anything from it.
Well, like I said, like after watching it, it doesn't really seem like anything happened. Like,
yeah,
I guess the whole family's dead, but like in context of throughout the whole movie, it just kind of seemed like it was a bunch of nothing. which is weird, because you could kind of say the same thing about The Lighthouse. Like, The Lighthouse, nothing really happens, I guess. They just sort of get crazier and crazier throughout the whole movie. But by the end of The Lighthouse, I feel like stuff was accomplished. I don't know. But anyway, my best of... I don't even know. I'll probably say when the dad just goes all, you black devils, and he's like grabbing the little kids and shit. Just his freak out, I would say, is probably my favorite part.
See that?
And then least favorite, I'm not really sure. I don't really got one. I can't pick out like a decisive, that was it. That was my least favorite. Because I can't really say the twins being annoying, because that was what their characters were supposed to be.
Yeah.
But, so Maverick, got anything for best?
Nothing. Fuck this movie.
Whoa.
It sucked, man.
No need to be hostile.
It's I'm giving it a 2 now. Now I think about it. This shit. It wasted my time.
Yeah. I did like, I remember Black Phillip, they talked about Black Phillip got along with everyone on set. He hated the dad. And anytime the dad was near, the goat would just start like, banging his head into the thing, and like that scene with the dad dragging the goat into the barn or whatever. The goat was just supposed to come, but the goat was like, "Fuck you." It's like,
Yeah, I was fighting him. Yeah.
yeah. So I just like that goat didn't like the dad. But anyway, hey, Washington lost because they're a bunch of fucking assholes. And they can't let me have anything good. So anyway, all right. Well, that's about the end of The Witch. Next week, it's Maverick's pick. Where are we watching Maverick?
I don't have anything yet.
Ah,
To be determined.
motherfucker. You said you were going to have to bring some hot fire, as you put it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But honestly, I'm not seeing anything good.
Well, whatever it is, I'm assuming. Goddamn, I sound like a fucking. I'm assuming by the time I'm editing this, he'll have told me. So it's right here. Go. All right, hey. He didn't really pick a fucking movie, so he kind of my pops recommended a movie, and he just kind of picked that. So next week we're checking out The Devil's Advocate from 1997, starring Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. All right. Back to these two ugly bitches. There you go. That's what we're watching this week. Yeah. So anyway, Monday coming out. Got an overtime for Cloverfield. So go listen to that one. Got shorts coming out. Those are. I just went through the Nightbreed episode from way back in the day. You got some Nightbreed shorts coming out. So look forward to that. And yeah. Maverick, got anything you'd like to add before we sign off here?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Rest in peace, Rick James. All right. We'll see you next week for whatever fuckboy picks.
Wow.
And yeah, fuck yourself, Washington. Hate you.